I used to go camping with my college friends. Every holiday, we would ride motorcycles or an old car, bringing tents, instant noodles, and stupid stories that somehow made the nights feel warm. But after graduation, everything changed. Work, distance, and time slowly pulled us apart. In the end, I was alone. Because I still missed that feeling, I decided to keep camping, alone. There was one place we used to visit often. The trail was a bit difficult, far from the main road, and not very impressive as a tourist destination. There were no waterfalls, no dramatic mountain views, just an open clearing surrounded by tall trees. But that was exactly why I felt safe there. The place was quiet. Too quiet for someone with bad intentions, or so I thought. I arrived in the late afternoon and immediately set up my tent. The air was calm, filled only with the sound of insects and wind brushing against leaves. It felt familiar, almost peaceful. About an hour later, I saw someone coming from the direction of the trail. A man. He looked ordinary enough, a dark jacket, long pants, hiking boots. But what caught my attention was his bag, just a small backpack. No tent, no sleeping mat, no other camping gear. That was strange. This place wasn't a popular hiking route. There was nothing here except a place to spend the night. I thought maybe he just wanted to be alone, like me. I tried not to be suspicious. He stopped on the other side of the clearing. He didn't greet me, didn't even look in my direction. He just stood there, then sat down on the ground. As it approached 6 in the evening, I walked away from my tent to cook. When I looked back, the man was gone. The sky was already getting dark, and it would take about 3 hours to hike back down. Too late to leave. I felt relieved, and strangely, a little guilty for feeling that way. I ate quickly and went back into my tent. I hung a small lantern inside, just enough light to read for a bit. But the feeling of loneliness came suddenly. I remembered the sound of my friends' laughter, the campfires, the meaningless conversations that had felt important back then. I turned off the light and tried to sleep. I don't know what time it was when I woke. All I knew was that the forest was very dark and very quiet. Then I heard it. Footsteps, slow and steady, crunching against dirt and twigs, from far away, then closer and closer. My body went stiff. I held my breath, listening. The footsteps stopped. Outside my tent. I reached for the lantern, turned it on, and slowly unzipped the tent. The small light illuminated the clearing. About 20 feet away, someone was standing there. The man. He was in the same spot as before, completely still, not moving. I couldn't see him holding anything. I couldn't see his face clearly. All I knew was that he hadn't left. "Hey, are you okay?" My voice sounded smaller than I expected. No response. I couldn't tell which way he was facing, toward me or away from me. Both possibilities were terrifying. I grabbed my folding knife from my backpack and held it tightly. My hands were sweaty. Time moved incredibly slowly. 5 minutes felt like half an hour. He was still there, standing, as if waiting. Then I realized something that made my stomach turn. If he was facing me, that meant he had already been standing there, staring at my tent even before I turned on the light. 15 minutes passed. Then suddenly, he moved. Slowly, he turned and walked away toward the trail. From the way his body rotated, I knew he had been facing me the entire time, staring. His footsteps grew fainter and eventually disappeared. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I sat there with my knees pulled to my chest, gripping the knife, listening to every small sound. No footsteps ever returned. In the morning, I packed everything as quickly as I could and left. I never saw the man again. I made it home safely. Since that night, I have never gone camping again. I don't know what he was doing there. Maybe I caught him in the middle of something. Maybe my presence stopped him. But the most terrifying thought is this. If I hadn't woken up that night, I might never have known he was there. And maybe I wouldn't have made it home. My friends and I were camping in a remote forest, far from the noise of the city. The night was calm, filled only with the chirping of crickets and the wind slipping through the trees. Jen, my best friend, sat leaning against a rock near the campfire, smiling as she roasted a marshmallow. That night felt perfect, at least until it happened. Without warning, a black shadow shot down from the treetops. The loud flapping of wings rang in our ears, and before we could react, a bat burst out of the darkness. Jen's face froze. "What is that?" she screamed, but it was too late. The bat lunged, its bite landing squarely on her lips. We stood frozen for a moment, unable to believe what had just happened. Jen screamed, pressing her hands against her bleeding mouth. The two other friends and I rushed to restrain her. The bat refused to let go, its high-pitched screech sounding like a cry of rage. We finally managed to knock it away, and the creature disappeared back into the darkness. Jen's lips were torn, blood dripping onto our hands. Panic hit instantly. "We have to get to the hospital right now," I shouted. Jen was shaking violently, her tears mixing with blood. On the drive back to the city, every shadow in the forest looked like a bat waiting to come after us. Inside the car, no one spoke. The air was suffocating. Jen's ragged breathing sounded like a demon's growl, and I could feel fear coursing through my entire body. At the hospital, the doctor examined Jen quickly. "This is a rabies bite," he said in a grave tone. "You need to start rabies vaccinations immediately, 6 full weeks." His words felt like a cold, terrifying sentence. Jen lowered her head, her shoulders trembling. The hospital, usually sterile and safe, turned into a space thick with anxiety. The days that followed became a nightmare. Every time Jen received an injection, her face went pale, her eyes often staring blankly at the ceiling. We began hearing strange sounds in her house, soft breathing, tapping on the windows late at night. At first, I thought it was just imagination, but one night, I saw a black shadow at the end of the hallway. It felt as if something from that forest had followed us home. Our fear peaked when Jen started having nightmares. In her dreams, she stood in the middle of the forest, chased by hundreds of bats with glowing red eyes. They hovered in the air, surrounding her, and one bat, larger than the rest, bit her again, this time not on the lips, but on the neck. Jen woke up every night screaming, her cries shaking the entire house. I began to investigate. According to a local veterinarian, the forest had recently become a nesting ground for rabid bats. They had grown more aggressive, especially on dark, silent nights. I realized that what we experienced was only the beginning of something darker, something involving creatures that lived in the shadows and were ready to strike at any moment. The weeks of vaccination felt endless. Jen slowly recovered physically, but the fear never truly left. Every time night fell, every time the wind howled outside the window, I could feel the shadow of bats passing by. That experience left more than just physical scars. It planted haunting paranoia, making me realize that the forest held secrets humans were never meant to uncover. I never saw that bat again, but sometimes when a campfire burns on a quiet night, I can still hear the flutter of its wings in my ears, and the red gaze staring back from the darkness makes my heart pound. Jen is physically fine now, but we both know one thing. That night in the forest changed our lives forever.